He told people the medals were his. Said they came from family history, said I didn't need them anymore. I didn't argue that day. I waited. And when the room was full, I let the paperwork speak. If you've had family cross a line like this, tell your story in the comments. The post appeared while a truck idled at a stoplight. Evan's name sat above the photos tagged by someone I didn't know. 3 medals lay arranged on a felt board, each one angled as if presentation mattered more than origin. The caption talked about family history and preservation. Comments followed questions about campaigns, dates, condition. A message came through from an old shipmate before the light changed. Didn't know you were selling. At the gathering later that day, the room filled quickly. Folding tables held pamphlets, business cards, a few cases of memorabilia. Evan stood near the display, answering questions with ease. He spoke about value, about provenance, about how difficult it was to keep things safe these days. People nodded. Someone snapped a photo. I stepped closer and said his name. Conversation paused. Evan turned with a practiced grin that didn't linger. He gestured at the medals. Did you take them from my place? The words came out level. He waved a hand. Borrowed. For display. You weren't using them. Borrowed usually comes with a call. A collector leaned in, studying the edges. Evan shifted to block my view. It's temporary, he said. Relax. Put them back tonight. He glanced toward the table, then back. We'll see. A woman asked about certification. Evan launched into an answer, mentioning documentation, mentioning lineage. The way he said it suggested permission without naming it. Someone else asked where they'd be listed. Evan didn't correct the assumption. A man in a blazer cleared his throat. If you're open to auction, there's interest. Private sale too. Evan nodded once. Options exist. The word landed and stayed there. No denial followed. No boundary drawn. Those aren't for sale, I said. Evan's mouth tightened. Not now. A volunteer announced refreshments. The crowd drifted, then circled back. Cards changed hands. A phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Evan bent to adjust the stand, careful, deliberate. The medals caught attention from across the room. Take them down, I said. Not here, he replied. You're making it awkward. Awkward started earlier. He leaned closer. Don't do this. A couple nearby pretended not to hear. The man in the blazer checked his watch. Daniel Evans said, lowering his voice, You always do this. You turn a simple thing into a problem. The phrase simple thing hovered over the table. He straightened and resumed explaining the history to a new face, careful to avoid names. The story had room for everyone, except me. I stepped back. The volunteer handed out cups. Someone asked for a price range. Evan gave one. Not exact. Enough. A notification chimed again. Another message from the shipmate. Guess it's happening. The phone kept vibrating before sunrise, then again, while tying my boots again in the truck again at the first stop. Names from years back lit the screen. Men I hadn't spoken to since service, a supervisor from a dock contract, someone's wife, who remembered the ceremony better than I did. Did you really put them up for sale? Tell me this is a misunderstanding. Heard you're cashing out. Answers stayed short. No, not mine to sell. I'm handling it. At work, the floor manager asked for a word near the tool cage. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Community chatter is picking this up, he said. Just flagging it. We get donors' vets press sometimes. I'm not selling anything. Good, he replied. Keep it that way. A meeting ran long. A delivery missed its window. During lunch, another call came through, this one from Evan. A text followed when the call went unanswered. I'm tight right now. Just trying to use what's there. Nothing permanent. The message sat there while a forklift beeped past. A reply started, then stopped. Another text arrived. Everyone's making this bigger than it is. That afternoon, a number from out of state rang. Evan's mother spoke fast, as if speed could settle it. "He's under pressure," she said. "You know how kids are. Help him bridge the gap." "Bridge to what? Don't do this to him," she said. "Be flexible." Her sister chimed in on a three-way call minutes later. The word family came up more than once. So did forgive. Nobody asked where the medals came from. Nobody asked whose name sat on the papers. After the shift, the truck turned toward the veterans' office off the main road. The place ran on forms and patience. A clerk pointed me to a counter and slid over a clipboard. "What are you verifying? Service awards," I said. "Serial numbers." A pause, then a nod. "Take a seat." Marcus Reed came out from the back with a folder tucked under his arm. He recognized me before I said anything. "Didn't expect to see you here for this," he said. "Didn't plan to be. We spread documents across a table, copies, stamps, dates." He traced a line with his finger. "These numbers match your file," Marcus said. "Issued to you. Logged, transferred, archived. Clean. Can he claim them?" Marcus leaned back. He can say whatever he wants. Claiming ownership publicly changes the lane. "What lane? Legal," he said. Once he presents himself as owner, it's no longer a family disagreement. It's a misrepresentation. A printer, Word. The clerk called another name. Marcus gathered the papers and slid one back. "If this goes to a sale," he said, "you'll want this ready." "Sale," I repeated. He didn't soften it. Listings don't appear by accident. The phone buzzed again. A group message, this time old unit short lines. "Seeing your stuff online. Hope you're good. Say the word if you need backup." A response typed itself and got erased. Marcus watched without comment. "Anything else I should know?" I asked. "Timing," he said. "Once a house accepts a consignment, they move fast." The drive home took longer than usual. Traffic stacked. Another message from Evan arrived, this one longer rehearsed. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. It's just until I get back on my feet. You never even look at them." No reply went out. A voicemail followed from his uncle, careful with tone. "Let's keep this out of public view." Dinner cooled on the counter. The phone rang again, work checking in. Then a text from a neighbor asking if the rumor was true. The story had legs. An email notification cut through the noise. Subject line plain. Sender unfamiliar. A logo at the top when it opened. Confirmation of consignment received. Details followed: item description, preliminary estimate seller name. Evan Harper. Event date pending. The email arrived before lunch. Subject line clean formal. The sender introduced the firm in La Jolla and thanked Evan Harper for the consignment. The list below named each metal condition noted estimate pending. My name didn't appear anywhere. A reply started, then stopped. The phone rang instead. "Can we meet?" Evan asked. "Just talk. We picked a place halfway between jobs." He showed up early, already seated, hands folded, like that mattered. "This isn't what you think," he said once the server walked away. "Everything's temporary. Temporary still needs permission." He nodded, eyes down. "I'm behind on rent. Things stacked up. I figured pull the listing," I said. He took a breath, looked past me. "It's already moving. That's not an answer. It's a process," he said. "You know how paperwork works." "Stop it," I said. Now, silence filled the gap where a response should have been. He picked at the edge of the table. "I'll see what I can do." "What does that mean?" "It means don't make this worse." The check arrived untouched. He stood. First said he'd call. The door swung closed behind him, without a promise. Back at the veterans' office, Marcus had a phone pressed to his ear and a pad open. He waved me in, finished the call, then slid a number across the desk. Records archive, he said. Request copies of the serial confirmations. Ask for originals if they'll release them. A clerk there explained delays, federal holidays, backlogs, verification steps that couldn't be skipped. Forms went out, then came back for corrections. Each update added another day. A voicemail followed from the auction house. A lawyer this time measured tone. "We've received a notice of concern," she said. "Are you asserting ownership?" "Yes." "Do you have documentation processing?" "Until we see it," she said. "The consignment stands." An email from Evan arrived minutes later. "Please don't escalate. This will ruin things." Another from his aunt followed, polite, heavy on words like family and future. Marcus checked in that afternoon. "They're moving fast," he said. "You'll want to lodge a formal objection. How without papers file provisional?" he said. "State your claim." "Buy time." The form took an hour. Name, service number, award dates. A brief explanation. No speeches, just facts. It went out with a timestamp. The lawyer replied within the day. "We've noted your position. Please forward supporting materials when available. Evenings filled with calls. Old contacts shared screenshots of the listing." A co-worker asked if the date was final. The story spread without help. At home, drawers opened and closed. Empty slots showed where cases used to sit. A text from Evan buzzed again. "I'm trying to fix this. What does fixing look like?" went out before it could be edited. No answer followed. Another day passed. Marcus called with mixed news. They found the originals, he said. Release requires in-person verification. When? Soon as you can get here. Travel plans pulled together fast. The auction date appeared on the firm's site that night. La Jolla, end of week. The lawyer reached out again, this time direct. "If there's a dispute," she said, "attendance can help. We prefer clarity. Understood." A folder went together with copies, emails, timestamps. The original confirmations weren't there yet. Space remained where they should be. Evan called late. His voice stayed even. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because it's not yours." A pause. "You never even display them. That's not the point. Everything has value," he said. "You taught me that." "Ownership isn't a lesson," I said. "It's a line." He hung up without a goodbye. The receptionist glanced at the folder, then at the screen, then back at me. Her tone stayed practiced. "We have documentation on file," she said. "Power of attorney and a declaration of inheritance." "From who?" I asked. "From the consignor," she replied. "Evan Harper." A manager joined us. Sleeves rolled polite, without warmth. He repeated the line about procedure and added a sentence about neutrality. Without complete legal proof, he said, "We can't delay the schedule." "What counts as complete?" I asked. "Original confirmations," he said. "Chain of custody. I'm waiting on them." He nodded once. Then we proceed. Evan arrived while the conversation stalled. He didn't come over. He stayed near a display case talking to a man with a silver watch. A glance crossed the room and slid away. No greeting followed. A staff member approached him with a clipboard. Evan signed, handed it back, then stepped aside. The silver watch shook his hand. "That buyer wants the full set," the manager said, lowering his voice. "All three." "Today. How soon?" I asked. "Before the preview closes." The phone came out. Marcus answered on the second ring. "They filed papers," I said. "POA and inheritance." A pause. Keys tapped on his end. "There's a mismatch," he said. "Your enlistment date is logged 2 days off in one system. Archive flagged it. Can it be fixed today?" "Not likely," he said. "Different department." "So I'm stuck." For the moment. A notification buzzed from the auction house app. Status unchanged. Another buzz followed an email from the lawyer. Without substantiation, she wrote, "We're unable to alter the timeline." Evan laughed softly across the room. Someone asked about reserve prices. He answered with numbers that weren't mine. I approached him. "Pull it," I said. He kept his eyes on the case. "I can't, you won't. That's not fair. Neither is this." He turned, then expression even. "I told you it's moving. Moving doesn't make it right." A staff member stepped closer, clearing his throat. "Gentlemen," the Silver Watch leaned in. If there's hesitation, he said, "I'll take them now." The manager smiled, relieved by certainty. "We can arrange that," he said. My phone rang again. Marcus didn't sugar it. "They won't touch the archive discrepancy until Monday," he said. "Best option is to be present. Document everything. I'm already here." "Then hold the line," he said. "Don't agree to anything." Agreement wasn't on the table. Evan signed another page. A staffer printed receipts. "Last chance," I said. He shook his head once. "You're overreacting." "Step away," the staffer said, "not to me." The Silver Watch checked the time. "I have another appointment. We'll move fast," the manager said. Paper slid, pens clicked. The process ran on rails. I called the lawyer back. "This is disputed," I said. "You've been notified." "Yes," she replied, and noted. "That's it for now." Evan pocketed his phone. "I'll call you later," he said, already turning. "Don't," I said. He stopped, finally facing me. "You always make things bigger than they need to be." A staff member handed me a copy of the provisional objection. Thin paper. Time-stamped. "Please exit the floor," he said. "Preview's closing." The confirmation came through mid-morning. An email from the archive stated the serial numbers matched my service record without discrepancy. The note added that interagency transfer hadn't cleared yet, which meant the auction house hadn't received anything official. The message ended with a timeline that didn't promise speed. A knock followed an hour later. Evan's aunt stood on the porch with a purse tucked tight under her arm. She didn't wait for an invitation. "You're pushing this too far," she said. "Dragging it into public view will kill his future." "It's already public," I replied. "That doesn't mean you have to make it worse." She paced a step, stopped, then tried again. "He's young. You're his father. Be the bigger person. Being bigger isn't the same as backing down." Her voice sharpened. "You'll regret this." The door closed without a goodbye. A message from Marcus arrived seconds later asking to meet. We sat across from each other at a table scattered with forms and sticky notes. Marcus tapped one line with a pen. "You've been focused on the metals," he said. "Ownership isn't just the objects. It's the custody trail, storage transfer authorization. That's what holds. So even if he shows papers, they fall apart if the chain breaks." Marcus finished. And it did. A call buzzed in. Evan's name flashed. It went unanswered. An email followed instead, long and careful. "I'm sorry for how this landed. I never meant to disrespect you. But if you keep interfering, I'll tell my side to the local press. They'll listen." Marcus watched my face without comment. "That's pressure," he said. "Not leverage." Another line arrived moments later. "We can still fix this quietly." The drive to the military records office took longer than planned. Traffic slowed. A clerk checked my ID, then led me to a desk where an officer waited with a stack of folders. Dates were reviewed, signatures added, corrections initialed. Each page slid into place. "Everything lines up now," the officer said. "You'll want these originals." The folder felt heavier than paper. Outside, the phone buzzed again, missed calls, unread messages. None got answered. Evan tried once more before dusk. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "You're choosing papers over your own kid." "I'm choosing the truth," I said. "That's not what people will hear. That's not my job to manage." Silence stretched, then broke. "You always disappear when it gets hard," he said. "I'm here," I replied. I'm just not moving." He hung up. The folder went onto the passenger seat. Keys turned. The drive back cut through familiar streets without slowing. At home, the door shut, and the table cleared to make space. Marcus called to confirm the next step. "Bring everything he said. Don't editorialize. Let the documents do the work." Dinner went untouched. The folder opened once more. Each page stayed where it was placed. The phone buzzed again. Another family member, another plea. It stayed face down. A final email from the archive landed before midnight, confirming release to third parties upon request. The attachment printed clean. Morning came early. Shoes tied, folder secured. The car started without hesitation. There was no speech prepared, no message drafted. Only the route ahead and the schedule already set. By the time the building came into view, the folder rested under one arm, complete. A breath passed. The door opened. Chairs filled fast. A low murmur carried across the room as staff moved clipboards and checked names. A local reporter set a recorder on the front table, testing levels. Evan stood near the podium jacket, pressed voice steady, as he spoke to a small cluster. "These pieces come from family service," he said. "They've been cared for and preserved." A nod traveled through the group. Someone asked about campaigns. Evan answered without hesitation, keeping it broad. The story left room for applause. When the auctioneer raised a hand to begin, I stepped forward and spoke before the first number landed. "Hold the sale." Heads turned. The auctioneer paused, then looked to the manager. "There's a formal dispute," I said. "I'm submitting originals." A staff member approached, palm out. "Sir," the folder opened on the table. Pages slid out in order. Serial confirmations, archive releases, a stamped letter from the Veterans Office, names aligned, dates matched. The manager leaned in. The lawyer joined him, eyes scanning. A whisper passed between them. Evan's smile thinned. "This is unnecessary," he said. "We talked." "Not here," I replied. The lawyer lifted a page. "Mr. Harper," she said to Evan, "your power of attorney, where did this originate?" "My father authorized it," he said quickly. "It's clear." She traced a line with a pen. "This signature doesn't align with the custody record." "That's a technicality," Evan said. "You know how families are." A murmur rippled. The reporter's recorder clicked on. "These numbers," the manager said, tapping the page tie directly to Mr. Harper's service file. "The declaration you submitted conflicts." Evan's voice rose. "You're doing this to me in front of everyone. You chose the room," the lawyer said. He turned to the crowd, palms open. "I'm under pressure. Rent debt. I'm trying to survive. These are family items." "They're issued awards," the manager replied. "Ownership follows record." Evan pointed at me. "He doesn't even display them." "That's irrelevant," the lawyer said. A staffer whispered to the auctioneer. The gavel stayed down. "We're suspending the lot," the lawyer announced, "pending verification of misrepresentation." Evan stepped closer to the table. "You can't do that." "I have buyers," we can, the manager said, "and we are." A security guard approached, measured. "Sir, we need you to step aside." "This is my right," Evan said. "I'm his son." The guard waited. The manager didn't blink. "Step away from the floor," the guard repeated. Evan looked around, searching for support that didn't come. The silver watch from earlier shook his head once. The reporter leaned forward. "This isn't over," Evan said to me. "Neither is verification," the lawyer replied. He gathered his phone, shoved it into a pocket, then walked with the guard toward the exit. The room exhaled, then resumed its hum. The manager turned to me. "We'll log your materials. Please wait." A clerk took the folder. Stamped receipts returned copies. The lawyer asked for a statement. One sentence went down. I assert ownership based on issued records and custody. Thank you, she said. We'll notify you. The auctioneer cleared his throat. We'll proceed with the next lot. Numbers followed. The reporter scribbled. A camera clicked once, then stopped. Marcus texted. Good, stay steady. The lawyer returned with a card. If there's follow-up, call. Outside, a breeze carried voices from the sidewalk. Evan stood near the curb phone, pressed to his ear, back turned. A patrol car rolled past without slowing. The clerk handed me a receipt for the held items. You'll be contacted, she said. I stepped away as staff reset the table. The schedule moved on. In the parking lot, the phone buzzed again, missed calls stacking. One voicemail preview read, "Please call me." The car unlocked. The engine started. Traffic flowed back toward the coast. A notification chimed from the auction house app. Lot suspended pending review. The notice went out before noon. An internal bulletin from the auction house landed in my inbox with clipped language and numbered points. It stated a misrepresentation of ownership. It stated a temporary freeze. It stated cooperation with a civil review. No names in the subject line, but Evan's account status was listed in the body. A follow-up came minutes later. Seller privileges suspended pending investigation. The lawyer asked me to come by to finalize paperwork. The office smelled of toner and coffee gone cold. A paralegal slid forms across the table, each tab marked where a signature belonged. These confirm rightful ownership, the lawyer said, based on issued records and custody verification. The pen moved. Ink dried. A stamp landed with a dull thud. Effective immediately, she added. A man waited near the doorway, hands clasped behind his back. The silver watch again. He stepped forward when the lawyer excused herself. I'll make a fair offer, he said. Private, clean. They're not for sale. He nodded once, not offended. Understood. Outside the office, a phone rang from an unknown number. A reporter introduced herself and asked for a comment. There's nothing to add, I said. The documents speak. Just a quote, she pressed. Ownership confirmed, I replied. That's it. Another call followed. Then a text. Then an email. Each got the same answer or none at all. Evan tried next. Messages stacked with different tones. Please talk to me. They froze everything. You didn't have to do this. No replies went out. The phone stayed face down while a clerk returned with a receipt and a date. Pickup scheduled, she said. Tomorrow. Marcus called as I stepped into the lot. That bulletin did its job, he said. Accounts don't come back from that easily. Good, I said. Keep your answers short, he added. You're doing fine. The next morning brought rain that didn't matter. The auction house opened on time. A staff member led me to a side room where a case sat on a table sealed and tagged. Paperwork followed, chain-confirmed custody transferred. These are yours, the manager said. We'll escort you out. The case felt familiar in the hands, heavier than it looked. The staffer walked ahead, doors opening and closing on schedule. A camera flashed once near the entrance, then lowered when no comment came. In the lot, the phone buzzed again. Evan's name. Then another message. They're saying fraud. Help me. The engine started. Traffic moved. The messages went unread. At home, the case rested on the table while keys found their place. The latch clicked open. Each metal returned to its slot without ceremony. A call came from the lawyer confirming delivery, and next steps if needed. Call if anything changes, she said. Nothing did. A courier arrived later with certified copies. The signatures matched. The stamps lined up. The file went into a drawer that stayed closed. That evening, a neighbor mentioned the story in passing while checking mail. Saw something online, he said. Glad it worked out? It's done, I replied. The phone lit up again after dinner. Evan's last message arrived shorter than the rest. I didn't think you'd go all the way. No response followed. The device went back to the counter. The notice came through a week later, forwarded by the auction house without commentary. It listed findings, restrictions, and a closed door. Evan's name appeared once attached to a phrase about misrepresentation. The email ended with a line stating permanent ineligibility across partner platforms. No drama, no opinion, just record. There was no call after that, no apology, no request to meet. Messages stopped the way a signal drops when a tower goes out of range. The case sat on the table until the hardware came out. A level 2 screws the old mounts cleaned and reused. The wall took them back without protest. Each metal went up in the order it had always been. No labels added, no rearranging to make a point. The spacing stayed the same. When the last one settled, the tools went away. Work resumed the following Monday. A checklist waited. A supervisor asked about availability for an extra shift. The answer stayed the same as before. Can do. At lunch, a coworker mentioned seeing the headline fade from his feed. Internet moves on fast, he said. It does, I replied. A flyer on the bulletin board caught attention later that week. A mentorship program for younger veterans needed technical advisors. The sign-up sheet had open slots. A name went down without ceremony. Orientation date circled. Requirements listed. Nothing about medals. Marcus stopped by one evening with a folder he didn't need to bring. He stood where the wall was visible, hands in his pockets. Everything returned, he asked. Yes. He nodded, eyes moving once across the display, then away. Good. Coffee cooled while schedules were compared. He mentioned a backlog at the office, a new policy rollout, someone else's dispute. The conversation stayed practical. Call if anything resurfaces, he said at the door. It won't, I said. He smiled once and left. The phone stayed mostly silent after that. One unknown number rang and stopped. A voicemail came through with half a sentence before cutting off. It wasn't saved. The weekend approached without ceremony. A bag came down from the closet. Boots checked, supplies counted. The activity had been postponed more than once over the years, always for something urgent that turned out to be noise. Keys landed in the bowl. The door locked behind me. The wall stayed as it was. At the trailhead, names were checked against a list. A guide handed out maps and reminders. No one asked about work. No one asked about family. The group moved when told. Later, while adjusting straps, a text arrived from an unfamiliar number. Dad, I need help. The screen dimmed without response. The phone slid back into the pack. The path climbed steadily. Conversation thinned as the grade changed. A pace settled in. Breathing evened out. By the time the overlook came into view, the morning had already spent itself. Packs dropped. Water passed around. Someone pointed out a landmark. I took a seat on a rock and adjusted a bootlace that didn't need it. The guide called for a head count. Everyone answered. On the way back down, the phone buzzed again, this time with a notification from the mentorship program confirming enrollment and start date. The message included a short note. Thanks for volunteering. At home that evening, dust rinsed off at the sink. Clothes folded where they always went. Dinner heated and eaten standing up. The wall caught sight in passing, nothing more. A calendar reminder chimed for the following week's orientation. It stayed. Lights went out on schedule. The house settled into its familiar sounds. Tomorrow's alarm stayed set. No announcement followed. No explanation went out. The records were clear. The wall held what it held. Life continued steady and unremarkable with the space that comes from knowing what was kept and what was finally left behind.